Good evening, good evening. Okay, we gotta make sure the Bluetooth ain't on. Okay. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, y'all. I'm kind of feeling like this angle. For real. Like, I think this is team. I am so happy, and I am literally looking forward to recording this video because I just feel like this is just something that has been on my chest. And my MacBook is currently at the Apple Store, awaiting my $250, which is slightly crazy. But honestly, me and her have been going real hard, real hard. 2017, I'm not getting a new one. Um, no, I would love a new one, but that's not where we're at right now. I bought that laptop with refund money. Very much financially literate. You know, I had to have the best at the time. I was like, I am totally not getting a Windows or a Chromebook. It was giving MacBook me now. Okay, I was totally gassed. I went to Best Buy same day. Probably walked out of class to go to Best Buy to get the computer. But I mean, it's been the best investment. Like, honestly, I actually did end up becoming a writer. So it worked out. You know, it totally worked out. I'm super gassed. You know, I have a new follower on my Medium column, and I always love that. I always love when people engage in my work. It was one of my older pieces, which I was like, oldie but goodie, you know what I mean? And I was hoping that they didn't look at it and be like, you know, like take that like I was being cocky or whatever. You know, something I've realized, especially as I've gotten better with my work, I've really learned to like accept compliments. You know, it's no longer a shock to me. Although I could easily look at that piece, and me personally, I'm like so extremely critical of that because I'm like, oh, that piece was so cringy. But it's a blessing because I look at my work now as a writer, even in my pronunciation and my articulation, I still don't really know big words like that. But I've progressed, you know, and I remember at the time, I was like really just breaking into journalism. You know, I was like figuring out what type of careers were there as a copywriter at the time, as a copywriter intern, and just trying to figure out like what is it that I want to do with writing. And so I thought it was really cool that I started that. Now I write. You know, I write, and now I read nonfiction books, and now I care about societal issues. So it's so different. So anyway, something I want you guys to comment below, and I want you guys to let me know this, like real spill. And I know, and I want you guys to really hear me, okay? And I'm gonna make some clarifications because, you know, luckily I feel like with YouTube, I don't really have to always go into nuance about a lot of things. I do feel like there are some young people who find me and maybe misunderstand me, but I feel like for the most part, I feel like YouTube definitely gravitates towards a more sophisticated and more so mature audience. And I absolutely love that because this is totally not rated E, right? TikTok is definitely like, I hate TikTok in part because I feel like TikTok is nothing but a bunch of young kids. And I think it'd be really cool if I was like selling something or if I was like a fashion babe, which I really wanted to be, you know, and I think I still probably like low key do want to do that. But me personally, you know, I'm at a point now in my life where just being a little bit more financially literate, come on. You know, I'm just kind of at this place now in my life. I don't spend as much as I used to on clothes, right? First of all, clothes are just not even affordable. There used to be a point in time, like back in 2018, where I really feel like I could cash out. Like I would literally shop so much because stuff was so affordable. I mean, you could literally go to like, you know, freaking Forever 21, hello, and like really cash out and like really get a bunch of stuff. They would have like $5 clearance. H&M was local. Like, you know, it was just a different time. So I feel like that was maybe just like my younger era. But now that, you know, I'm getting older, I'm kind of like giving big sis now, you know? So it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm not really into it as much as I was at one point. I still be fly. You know, it's in me. It's in me, not on me. But yeah. So anyway, I want to just kind of give a disclaimer before I ask this question, because I know a lot of people have different values. I know a lot of people, not everybody is going to be something. You know, I know a lot of people in life are just going to live life, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I also understand, again, people have different values. Everybody's on their own path. We're not going in the same direction. Okay, so just keep all of that out of the comments when I ask this question. But riddle me this, okay? I really want to know, like, be so for real, okay? because I want you to be for real. Like, I don't want you to, you know, don't come to me playing games. Be for real, okay? What game plan do, and I'm gonna say black people because I'm black, but I don't know who's on this channel, so I'm gonna just speak to black people because I'm black, but I don't know who's on here. I think that's my audience though. But what are the ways that you could acquire success, or you plan to acquire success, or you hear other people talk about how they're going to acquire success that don't involve some type of institutionalized learning and don't possess any education outside, any secondary education? And the reason I ask this question is because I feel like we just live in a time today, and I think even for myself, I talk about this all the time, the sensationalism of exceptionalism, okay? But I feel like it's getting really bad, and I'm actually getting really concerned. So I wrote this in a column. I haven't had a chance to edit it because I wrote it on my phone. Column's not out. I don't think anybody on here follows me on Medium, but if you do, you won't be able to read that. You know, that one's in the drafts, okay, because I have to edit it. But I'm going to share a story about today, and I don't want anybody to, I got to share the story. So let me get some juice because I'm thirsty. And I'm just trying to get my thoughts together. I feel like my videos have kind of just been like all over the place, but y'all know we just come here to vibe. But I'm gonna get to the point because I honestly hate when videos be mad long for no reason. You see me take a sip? Very demure. No, I'm kidding. I'll be on TikTok too much. Okay, guys. So I really want to know, like, what ways are you guys gonna go about acquiring this success that does not involve acquiring some level of secondary education, okay? So y'all know where I stand. Y'all know where I stand. I'm the type of person, I said this to myself today, and the more I learn myself, the more I understand myself, I am not somebody who is going to hear a thing and run with it. And this is very unfortunate. This is very unfortunate because a lot of times I have to, you know, and find out, you know what I mean? I have to mess around and find out. Sometimes it doesn't work out for me. Sometimes I find myself in situations that could have been avoided. You know, it's not always like giving Nancy Drew. It's not always giving like perfect Indy. Sometimes it's just giving like, I didn't have to go through this. You know, I really could have listened. But I say that because I feel like we just live in a society, in a world today where people just will take what somebody else says and then it's like, just regurgitate it, instead of living by their own experiences. And I'm going to give an example of this. And I know this is mad corny and I don't really want to say this, but like, I'm going to give an example of this because I was literally talking to somebody today and they, you know, this person has had a lot of failed relationships, okay, a lot of heartbreak, you know. And this is someone who really adopts a lot of misogyny, like a lot of misogynistic content. And obviously this person is unaware, doesn't realize that this is coming from self-hate, because when you look at this person's life and their experiences, it's like, how can you possibly believe that women are bad pickers when you have had a serial, right? A whole plethora of relationships, and that's not your life, right? That's not even your experience. So how can you adopt that level of thinking, you know? But I just think that we're living in a day and age today where people just are latching onto things and they're attaching things to themselves and they're identifying with things that just aren't very authentic. Yeah. So let me get to the point. So what I wanted to talk about in today's video, I went to my local restaurant. There's a lot of gentrification going on. It's a new restaurant that's opening. And, you know, it's kind of like not really fast food, but it's not like drive-through, but it, you know, whatever. And I'm not really feeling the need to disclose it because I don't know, like, it's just a weird world, you know what I mean? And maybe this is me being a little too, like, you know, but as you can see, I'm opening up on this YouTube channel, so we're going to take it easy, you know, we're going to take it easy. But I went to this restaurant, a lot of gentrification going on, but nonetheless, we're still relatively black. And, you know, it was dirty. The restaurant was dirty. I noticed that it just, a whole lot there. But what really stood out to me was the incompetence of the workers. And they were older. And it didn't really make any sense for them to not understand how to do the job, right? It's a buffet style restaurant, relatively simple. And I noticed the manager was frustrated. And there used to be a point in time where I would look at that and I'd be like, man, this manager is bugging out. This manager's bugging out. This manager is, being whatever, right? And for the first time in my life, I feel like I've grown and I've seen the situation so differently. And I could tell the manager was frustrated because of the incompetence of the workers. And I can tell that the manager was frustrated because it was very evident to me that these workers just didn't really care, right? The restaurant is filthy. Everybody's standing around talking. It's like nothing. And we were living in a day and age today where I think that because our advocacy is misaligned, because our advocacy for the vast majority of people, we're going to talk about this, is premising on rhetoric that is no longer relevant, right? It's premising on things that are no longer relevant, right? It's not saying that these things don't matter. It's not saying that these things are not current occurrences or present day occurrences, but our advocacy needs a reform as Black people. So anyway, I could tell the manager was just upset with the overall incompetence. Like, restaurant's dirty. Nobody's taking the initiative to straighten up, to clean. People showing up looking crazy, wearing whatever to work. Like, it's just crazy, right? And like I said, we were living in a day and age today where we were building a certain type of allegiance and a hedge around certain people. And it's not just marginalized communities, but certain people who we feel like are certain people who benefit from this misaligned advocacy, right? And so because we were building up such a strong force of protection, there was no longer any correction for these groups, right? For these self-identifying groups, okay? And I hope you get what I'm saying. There was no longer any protection, right? Anybody who critiqued these groups, anybody who critiqued these people who seemingly identify with being lesser than, was gonna reap consequences, right? And even if it wasn't necessarily like going viral or somebody making a video of you, I just think even within the allegiance, right? You were gonna be outnumbered, period. Okay, that's just where we were, because the advocacy is no longer about social issues. It's no longer about, sorry, I burped, cultural issues. It's no longer about communal issues. It's no longer about equality, economic issues. Advocacy today needed a reform because so much of the advocacy was for ignorance. It was for a perpetual state of ignorance. And so that brings me to my whole purpose of today's video. Is like, I am deeply concerned and incredibly terrified for these future generations. Now, I know TikTok is not really a really good way to assess and collect any type of information because it's algorithmically based. So, algorithmically biased. And so if you like one video, you're going to see more of it, right? So there was really no way to actually collect any type of relevant data on TikTok or any social media platform for that matter. But so here's what I do. I'm going to speak from my personal experience. I'm going to speak from being in community centers. I'm going to speak from working as a substitute teacher. And I can honestly tell you that we are in danger. And when we hear teachers talk about this, we hear these things, we don't really care, and I think in part because it's like, what can we do? That's how people feel, like, what can we do, right? What is the solution? I always say that in order to have a healthy community, you need healthy individuals. I think we have to start back at the home front, which means talking to those around you. But we're going to get into that because here's the thing. Now there are layers, right? Now you have people on the internet who are also spewing a certain type of rhetoric. And the reason why I asked the question in the beginning, I was like, y'all, tell me how you plan to make a sustainable living, okay? Living a really good life, okay? And let's let's just back it up. Because living within American society, you actually have to redefine what it is to live a good life. You have to redefine what it is to be living a sustainable life and making a sustainable amount of income, okay? Because we're no longer living in a day and age where you can just rent forever, right? We were living in a day and age where rent can change on the dime, okay? We were living in a day and age where there was no such thing as affordable housing, right? There was like, we were just living in a day and age where, I'm going to be very frank, if you do not have any type of economic mobility, you were going to be susceptible to a lot of unfair practices at the hands of people who you're probably never going to see. And the thing about this is like, yeah, I know poverty has always been a thing. We can talk about welfare. We can talk about all these different things. But what you guys aren't hearing what you're not hearing is that this is actually happening on such a larger scale that even those within the certain quote unquote like middle class median income tax bracket were also going to be impacted by this. So this brings me back to my whole thing. It's like, what is your plan outside of having an education, outside of participating in some type of program? As I was reading The Black Bourgeoisie, something that really stood out to me was how there was a point in time where they were fighting for equal education within colleges and universities. But W.E. Du Bois posed this idea that Black people needed to just kind of stay within industrial jobs. That's just where it was. And so essentially the whole plight of like equality and equal opportunities for higher education, that died down. And Blacks just kind of decided to kind of just side with Du Bois and say, hey, this is what we need. Like, we do need industrial jobs. And we kind of just remained there. Which brings me to my first point. A lot of people talk about being a plumber. You have to forgive me. I get excited. A lot of people talk about going to school to be a plumber and like having a trade and all these different things. But when you look at trade programs, you're better off just going straight into the workforce. You're better off going straight into the workforce because it's just about the same. And my whole purpose in saying this is that I'm starting to notice how alarming it is to see the disparity between those who are college educated and those who are not. It is very loud. It is very clear. It is very much upfront. The thing about education that I'll always advocate for is that education is about enlightenment. When you educate yourself, you have the opportunity to gain new ideas for business, for anything else. Education has allowed me to strategically place a plan together. And I know you're probably looking at me like, girl, what she giving? Like, she got this red on. It's not giving that. This is just happenstance. But I say this to say, one thing that I'm noticing within the Black community is that there are far more people who are on this side, who are doing way better, who are educated, who have sustainable businesses, all these different things. And I'm sorry, there are far less. There are far less people on this side, and there's more people on this side who are struggling, who are in a perpetual state of being impoverished, who are one paycheck away from losing everything, right? The whole thread unraveling. And this group is getting really, really loud. And not only is this group getting loud, but this group is also spewing a lot of misinformation. And we're at this point now where I'm scared about the young children who are trying to figure out where to go, who are in the middle. Okay? I want any young person on here to really think about any entrepreneur that they know, any Black entrepreneur you know, and I want you to think about their level of success, okay? I hate to talk about this in this way and make it seem like this is all about money, because like I said in the beginning, y'all, this is not about money. This is not about money. This is not about materialism. This is not about, storing up riches on earth, if you will, okay? This is a matter of really putting yourself in a position so that you can live a good life. I can't believe that we're even having this conversation right now, because it's like, I feel like a lot of people, I don't know, it's just like, I don't think people understand, like, when you can't afford to take care of yourself, you are in a very vulnerable position. Not just with the state, not just, but vulnerable. Oh my God, it's a fly. But vulnerable in the sense that, like, you're susceptible to toxic relationships, abusive relationships, like, and I hate that we will emphasize materialism, but we don't emphasize just like having a life of stability. And I just think it's so unfortunate because the people over here are going to tell you something different, but this over here is so loud, and this over here is like, stay and be mediocre and work at, these jobs that are never going to, like, and it's like the advocacy needs a reform. Y'all, I have to write about this because I just feel like we live in a day and age today where the internet is such a sensitive place. This is why me personally, as a writer, I'm just like really sticking to the writing thing, man, because I really feel like you can't, speaking, I know my words can be misconstrued. And I also know that we just live in a different time. Like, we live in a different time. And because people aren't educated, they don't know how to, listen to a lecture and read between the lines, right? People need you to spell everything out for them. And I'm so saddened because I feel like this is the vast majority of people. And I think another thing that makes me so sad is like, because we don't have shame, because we have this overwhelming sense of advocacy that needs a reform. We don't have shame. And we're living in we're just in a space now where elders are telling people like, it's okay. It's okay for you to not try. It's okay for you to just live your life and just whatever, And that makes me so sad because it's like, I don't know, y'all. I just feel like I come over here, I make these YouTube videos or I do whatever, but it's like I see the real world. I see the choices that people are making. I see how bad it is to be uneducated, And the thing about education, it's like, it's not even a matter of just being institutionalized, if so you will, right? But the thing about that is like, this is deeper than just saying, oh, we're fighting for education. No, this is a matter of learning, right? When I seen those workers today, I'm like, man, this is just so crazy how it's just so normalized to be old and not know anything. The example I gave of the woman who, and this is a lot of women today, who, come online, they're bashing other women. And this is not about our politics. It's not about I'm just happening to wear red today. This is not, it's not politics. It's not me, projecting liberal views. No, this is just to say, like, when you're not educated, this is what it is. You talking out the side of your neck, and like I said, this video is kind of tough because you guys have to read between the lines because I can't just say it so direct because I just, when I first started YouTube, I was like, I'm going to be radical, but it's like the times are different, so it's like you have to pick it up and you get it and you don't, but yeah, like I remember there was a point in time where people used to be like, don't be like me, be better than me, make better choices. But because of their shame and because of the shame that they got for really being miseducated, which is crazy because it just kind of creates a cycle over here, as you can see, they stopped telling people that. They stopped telling people, be better than me, go out and be something in the world. You can actually do it. You know how terrifying it is to be a first generation college student and everybody over here is telling you that you're doing the wrong thing, that you're going to graduate, you're not going to have a job, that, it's all these different things, right? You know how terrifying that is? And to be in this sweet spot where you have these very few people that you see few and far between who are encouraging, who success honestly seems overwhelming, and it seems like something you can't even possibly obtain or fathom in your life because these people they're so loud. They've convinced you that there's absolutely no way you're going to get to the other side of that by going through college or by being educated. You know how terrifying that is? And it's just you. And maybe you are experiencing racism. Maybe you are experiencing discrimination, right? Maybe you are feeling like a small fry because you're like, hold up. Am I this smart to be in this program? I'm in a PWI. I'm the only, I'm getting out of school and I'm not going to a dorm. I'm not driving nothing fancy. I'm going to go bust down these burgers for these next couple of hours to pay for this tuition or pay my rent or whatever. You know how scary that is? You see how it's so easy for you to fall back into that? and now you're around these people, and then you find yourself in situations with these people and you can't get out of them. You see how challenging that is? It's like, these are the talks that we no longer have. And I'm not here to project anything onto anybody. No. I'm just saying the things that we're advocating for are not real, right? Like, what's real is what I'm seeing. And what's real is like, it no longer exists because social media can kind of come and paint a picture of something that's not real. Like, that's not the reality, you know? And everybody is just so like justified. You know what I mean? You come home and it's like, you're justified, right? This is not a matter of shaming people or making people be better or, you know, judging people in their circumstances. Like, it's not that simple. This is a lot more complex. This is just more so to say, look at where we are, like, on the social landscape, and like, look at what these online communities have done to us, right? Look at the normalization we have for incompetence, right? It's just not okay. It's not okay. So I genuinely want to know, right? Because I think we love the idea of, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to work this minimum job, right? I'm going to start a business and it's going to take off, right? Or, you know, I'm going to get online and I'm going to do all these crazy things. And I think this is also why we have so much exploitation of like children and just, you know, even like in people's own personal lives, right? People self-destructing online because it's like, it's not sustainable. So I don't want to hear about that path. It doesn't exist, right? When I see some of the most well-paid, and I don't even know at this point, but we'll just go ahead and say they're well-paid, right? Social media influencers, these are people who I have watched in my own life either go to school and they pursued a career in media, and it just so happened that it was at the right time that when they graduated, they had the skills to actually be marketable on social media. And then there's the people who started YouTube and it was 10 years ago. Okay, it was 10 whole years of hard work, dedication, makeup tutorials, whatever, right? And it's like, now this is your time. This is the peak, right? But it's like, I don't think that life works like that, you know? And I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to meet people in the middle where, you know, there's going to be this inevitable pitfall of disappointment, right? Like, maybe that's what I'm trying to convey in this video. Maybe that's what I'm trying to massage in this video, you know, because I just think that, like I said, the overly sensualizing exceptionalism is going to be to your detriment. You know, we don't live life on the outskirts, right? We don't live life as outliers. You know, and the fact that I feel like everybody can actually attain something sustainable is really what I'm just trying to promote. You know, I hate that people have to convince themselves that they're happy with something and they're happy within their lives, and the whole time they spend their lives pursuing something else. So it's like, you can't possibly tell me you're so happy and these things don't matter to you when you have the things that supposedly matter, right? But then you spend your whole life trying to achieve this, but you're not trying to go about it like that. You're trying to go about it in a whole different way. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can't possibly tell me you're happy with nothing when you spending your life when you have it, you know what I mean? You have everything you say you want that's not materialism or whatever the case may be, right? But then you spend your whole life chasing that. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not understanding, right? You can't possibly tell me you happy with your life, you're happy with your lot when you spend your whole life critiquing other people, right? You can't possibly tell me who got it. Right? Who got it? Who are appearing to have it or whatever, or people you know in real life who got it, right? You can't tell me that you're happy with your level of education when you spend so much time trying to garner knowledge from people who are uneducated and you're being misled. You got Black people talking about, yes, I'm just Candace Owens. ain't been near where a lick of politic, ain't even smelt it, ain't smelt the ballot. I'm joking, but no, seriously. And it's like, do you know, can't, like, you see what I'm saying? And so it's like, this is what happens when we lie to ourselves. We find ourselves in very vulnerable situations, right? And we look up, and sometimes some choices can't be undone. And so, you know what, this is why we have a lot of hurt and a lot of violence, right? Not just physical violence. Well, not just, not just like crimes and criminality, but like violence, like spiritual violence. So why do you think you have pastors in the church who are out here praying on the Congress? Why do you think you have so many men who are in the church who are out here preying on women? Like, you see what I'm saying? It's like, this is what happens when we lie to ourselves and we tell ourselves we don't want, or we tell ourselves we're okay with being where we are when God had plans for us to be somewhere completely different. Don't let me get preacher, because let's talk about it. You know, it's like God had plans for you to be somewhere completely different, and you know that in your heart. You know you're capable, but you don't want to get on the road. You want to keep listening to people who ain't never did it, who honestly are just as probably terrified as you. You don't think it's possible for you. You don't think you can do it, right? So you're telling yourself all these different things, and I see this so heavily within the Christian community. And this could be another video. We can talk about this in another video, but it's like, we've got to stop rebuking education, okay? We can critique religion. God didn't make religion, right? Religion is what keeps people stuck. Religion is the rules that say you have to wear a skirt down to here, right? That's religion. That's what we're critiquing. We're critiquing the abuse that keeps victims in dangerous situations at the hands of people. That's religion. That's what we're critiquing. We're not critiquing God. We're not critiquing the Bible. If you're somebody who feels the need to deconstruct your faith, or you feel the need to do it a different way, that's you. That's your journey. That's your business. Okay. But I feel like even within that, having compassion as a Christian, okay, on top of being educated, how can you look at this person and judge them? Do you not see the violence that is going on within Christian communities, within religious organizations? Do you not see the exploitation? How are you turning a blind eye? You know what I mean? So it's just like, I think that people actually need to be educated, and specifically Christians, because then they can stop justifying so much cruelty. You know, then they could actually see things for what they are and actually stand on something. You know what I mean? Stand on something. Okay? Know what it means to have justice. Jesus was God of justice. You know what I mean? Like, so it's dangerous. It's a dangerous time we're living in. I think I'm gonna wrap up here. I could probably talk longer just because I just feel like I'm enjoying this video. But dangerous time that we're living in, y'all. And I don't know. I want more for the people. You know, I want more for the people. And, you know, I just feel like I grew up, I just never believed a lot was possible for me. You know, I felt like the little things that people would look at and be like, oh, I achieved that. I did that 7 times over. That was a big thing for me because nobody had done that where I was coming from, you know? And, so often, you know, especially within Christian communities, we're taught to be so content with so little. And I put a video of a Jehovah's Witness, ex-Jehovah's Witness, from Vice interview, the Informer section. And I said my heart just goes out to so many people who have spent so much time within religious organizations and who've lost a lot of years off their lives. You know, there's a book I read just when I was trying to understand my own personal experiences with spiritual abuse, because I couldn't understand how somebody could be so righteous. You know, and I couldn't understand how people could be so like convicting, you know, especially when I knew this person was way worse than me. I'm like, how in the world, you know? So anyway, there's this book, it's called Shunned, and it was really good. She talked about how, you know, she grew up Jehovah's Witness as well. And it's funny too to see the different cultures and their spiritual practices and their religious organizations. I noticed a lot of like white people. Are we saying white? Are we saying Caucasian? I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But and it's like, why is, you know, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Honestly, I sound like some, you know, but seriously, it's like, you know, somebody commented like, you know, why are you saying black? You need to say African American. Either or is fine with me. But yeah, no, but seriously, I noticed that there's a lot of like Mormons and there's more like Jehovah Witness, versus like black people. It seems like there's more like Christian, you know, but I don't know. I don't study religion, so I couldn't tell you about it, but I would love to know more about it. But anyway, I lost my train of thought. I think it's time to go to bed. But yeah, don't waste your life. That's what I would say. You know, I think one of the biggest lies I will say with Christianity, and that's why a lot of people are gravitating towards more like marketing their faith. And you can go back and listen to that video that I posted, and I was saying why marketing your faith will always backfire. Yeah, it's time for me to go to bed. But basically, I was just saying that, you know, I think one of the things that's so evident is like people are gravitating towards Christianity today, not because they genuinely want to live out the lifestyle and the practice. You know what I mean? Not because they want to really abide by the teachings or even care to really study it in its entirety. But I think people were gravitating towards it because it was marketable. And specifically for Christians, because most Christians are socialized in their communities to forego education, to forego secular education. And I think this is just overall, like with all religious organizations. But when you have that, I think when you talk about women specifically, I think women benefit most from education. But I think women like find themselves in pretty destabilizing situations, you know, and by that I mean materially, you know. So I think if you want to be a business owner, you want to be an entrepreneur, whatever the case may be, you want to have a hobby on the side where you do something fun, creative, and spunky, you know, you're going to need money. You're going to need capital. It's time to go to bed. You're going to need capital. And I think that's okay. I don't think that you need to feel ashamed for that. I don't think you need to put your whole life on the line, sacrificing your integrity and your integrity and your dignity just to garner an audience, or just to put yourself in situations where you're working with people who may, I don't know, have more than you, or whatever the case may be, right? Just because you want to attain this lifestyle without doing the work, okay? So I think life can be a lot more simpler. And I think one thing I understand about education and what enlightenment, I'll say, has done for my life is that it's made my life a lot more simpler. I understand things a lot more. I'm no longer like frantic, puzzled, you know what I mean, and completely unstable environmentally and even psychologically, even spiritually, right? Like, it changes your life, you know? So get educated, be educated. School is cool. Learning is fun. And I think I'm going to end there, but yeah, it's just sad to see where we are today. You know, it's crazy to be old and like not know anything, you know. Wisdom does not come with age. Wisdom comes with experience. And if you've never done anything, how can you know anything? You know, just because you're old doesn't mean that you know anything. Quite frankly, it's what I'm seeing that's more common is that's actually more common. It's actually more common to meet a lot of people who don't know anything, right? People who have lived very narrow lives, you know, people who have done the same thing for the, you know what I mean? Sure, they may be able to offer a nugget, but it's like they've never really dived into enlightenment, education, and personal exploration. Like, it's not a thing, you know? So they actually can't tell you and teach you anything, you know? So life is real. The world is real. Bills are real. Okay. And I don't know. I just want you guys to know that, like, poverty isn't your lot.